Coming up next on All About Android, it's me, Jason Howell. I just can't take this Santa hat off. I don't know why. It's just so cozy. Joined by Ron Richards and TWiT Dow, we've got our best moments from the year 2022 coming at you right now.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is TWiT.
This is All About Android, episode 610 for Tuesday, December 27th, 2022. Best of 2022.
Listeners of this program get an ad-free version if they're members of Club TWiT. $7 a month gives you ad-free versions of all of our shows, plus membership in the Club TWiT Discord, a great clubhouse for TWiT listeners. And finally, the TWiT Plus feed, with shows like Stacy's Book Club, The Untitled Linux Show, The Giz Fizz, and more. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit. And thanks for your support.
Hello and welcome to All About Android, your week's source for latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. Although today's a little bit different. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm TWiT Dow.
Yes, and we are here in place, even though we aren't actually here because it's vacation time.
It is vacation, but Jason, I gotta give you credit. Christmas was a couple of days ago, and you're still holding on with the hat.
You know what?
I respect it. I respect it.
It's not really that it's a
warm,
Christmas hat. Right? It's warm. Yeah. It's comfortable. Yeah. And I put it on Christmas, and my head just felt all warm and fuzzy, and I was like, I'm never taking this off again. So I've been wearing it for 2 days.
That's one of those things, audio listeners. Jason is wearing a Santa hat, the red and white Santa hat. And it was a functional winter hat that Kris Kringle happened to wear that now has become associated with the holiday. You could wear it in February if you wanted to, Jason.
Yeah, Kris Kringle appropriated this wonderful hat.
Exactly.
Yes, but we were all wearing it before, and now only Santa Claus can wear it.
You could wear that hat all winter, and you could also put a picture of you wearing that hat on your phone background and have Material You adapt the colors and have the entire theme of your Pixel 7 be Santa Claus hat style. So red and white. There you go.
All right. So, I think, honestly, Ron, I think that's just a little too far. I think you need to
brought it back to Android. We're here in between Christmas and New Year's to celebrate Android, a year of All About Android. With two of my favorite people, week in, week out. We've been here with the Android faithful talking about everything going on in the world. I love it. It's been a great year.
So before we get into the clips, I think we've got some wonderful clips set aside of the entire year, but I just want to say this has really been the year of Huyen, because when you came on the first episode of this year, and it's been a lot of fun having you on the show. So we're so happy to have you on this cast. And you've featured heavily in this best of as a result.
My condolences to the Android faithful for amount of my face have been on, but this has been, it's been a really great year. And, I love Android, like legitimately, both as a consumer and as a dev. So coming on every week and talking about Android with y'all and the Android faithful is so awesome. Yeah. I just get more Android in my life.
Yes, indeed. We all need more Android in our life, in our lives, whether it's a candy bar Android, whether it's a foldable Android, whether it's like a trifold Android. And I think this first clip kind of ties right into that. Early of this year, 2022, we're talking about Samsung's foldable CES concepts. I think there was one that was like even though it's not called the Z Fold, although the Z would be a perfect name for it, but it's like the trifold
S-Fold.
thing.
Yeah, the S-Fold, like a pamphlet almost.
A pamphlet.
I really want a foldable that's like one of those like fortune teller things we used to do in school when you folded a piece of paper that like
what time is it?
Folded all those. Yeah, that'd be great.
7.
That's a great idea.
I mean, every CES, I'm looking forward to this year's CES because we get more and more crazy concepts of like what potentially could be or what's coming. That's where we first saw the rollables and we saw like the expando screens and things like that.
Yeah.
So it's nice to revisit what we saw at the beginning of last year so we can compare what happens this year at CES in January.
That's right. Concepts are fun. Foldable concepts are even funner. And that's what this first clip's all about. So let's do it. See, normally Ron would get this one because it's funky stuff, but there's another one in hardware that Ron would also get. So
true. I can't have them all. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. And Huyen has the foldables experience. So go for it, Huyen.
All right. Well, you got to share, Ron, because, you know, you got to share sometimes. So that's fine. That's fine. So we already know that Samsung has been kind of doing gangbusters in the large screen folded devices with our folds and our flips. And I think quite a few of us are folders and flippers on this podcast. Well, at CES 2022, they've got a couple more form factors for us that are pretty interesting. So I guess I'll try to describe it as best I can for the podcast only folks. But what I think is interesting about these 4 Samsung kind of concept prototypes are that kind of, if you think for example of the Fold, where it has like 2 screens, like the front screen and then kind of the middle screen, this kind of some of these concepts kind of try to move away from that. So the first one is the Fold S, an S, because it actually kind of folds in and out in an S shape. So if you think kind of like maybe like a pamphlet, so rather than having, say, a screen on the front and then a separate kind of like fold out screen kind of like within, this is all just one screen. And the way that the S Fold works,
cool.
It's just like a pamphlet, so that when it's folded, the first third or what have you becomes the front panel as opposed to having a separate screen. So that's the S, the Flex S. There's also the Flex G, which kind of, if you think more like maybe, I don't know, like a menu at a fancy restaurant where the content is inside and then you have kind of like the 2 sides of the device kind of folding inwards, one over the other. This is a little bit different. You can actually have your large screen, but have the screen more protected from scratches, bumps, and bruises and drops. There is also the Flex Slide, which I was really excited about. I think there was like, were you all talking about like the Droid, the OG Droid last week? Yeah. And this is kind of maybe like gave me a little bit of Flex or a Droid Slide or a Droid, old Droid Android phone vibes where you kind of have a little bit of a extra bit sliding out, but really it actually, I think it was kind of hard for me to see the video. It actually looks like rather than having a screen that folds, which, you know, if you're kind of someone who has a fold, like the current Fold 3, there's kind of some creasing going on. You know, you can kind of see where like the 2 halves of the screen fold out. This looks to me more like a kind of almost like, if you think of like a conveyor belt or maybe like the tracks on a tank, the way that they kind of roll out like that, or a bicycle chain, it seems that the screen is rolling up and kind of staying like kind of in a more circular roll and then being able to be expanded out as you slide it out. So there's going to be no crease, hopefully. And then finally, just like with the Galaxy Note, making things bigger and better, there's also the Flex Note, which is basically taking something like a flip or kind of the other that are kind of like mono screens that kind of fold in and just taking it to laptop sized form factors. So
which is crazy, which is like, it's like the Surface Duo, but bigger.
Yes.
I mean, it's a laptop with, instead of a keyboard, it's a display. Like, that's crazy. Or it's like a foldable iPad Pro.
Yeah. I think like actually the Flex S is pretty amazing, actually, like the technology. Yeah.
I got to tell you, all of these take foldable to like the next level, and like, bravo Samsung, because like here we are looking at like all the stuff we've seen of foldables. I mean, like, I feel like we said 2021 was like a breakthrough year for foldables, where like Samsung finally shipped affordable foldable phones that people wanted, right? These are like next gen stuff. And let me tell you, everyone listening to the show, if you're listening to an audio podcast right now, that's great. When you get on your computer, go look on your phone, find the video version of this episode and watch the videos that Burke is rolling as we're talking about them, so you can see these demos, or go find the demos online. You have to see these to believe them. And this is why I love foldables, because they're so bananas. Right, like this Flex Note is enormous. Like, but then you got to wonder, what is the cost going to be on this?
Oh my goodness, yeah. And the Flex Note is actually cooler than a very large. What was the Surface Duo? Because the Surface Duo was actually 2 screens with a hinge in the middle. It wasn't a full, like a single screen that takes the entire space, right? And this is exactly that, but laptop size. So that's even cooler. And I should also point out TCL. We've talked about TCL in the past, and very recently, back in December, they were showing off some of their concepts, which a lot of them are very similar to what Samsung's showing here, which just goes to show that this is R&D that's happening, and, not just with one company like, oh, let's see what kind of cool, interesting, weird things that we can do to push the envelope. They're all working in a similar direction here, which means, the very large laptop that folds and it's a single screen, like we're probably going to see that at some point. That would be my guess. I mean, I don't know that for certain, but if they're all kind of working in that direction, the rollable, we saw the kind of scroll. I think now we've talked on this show about 3 different manufacturers that are testing concepts there. So someone's going to bring that to market. So yeah, these things will end up going from a curiosity and a pushing the boundary sort of device into, hey, we've got a product and you can actually buy it now. And it'll be curious. I'll be curious to see which one kind of wins out if one does.
I love this stuff. I love this stuff so much, and I love that Samsung's not the only people doing it.
Yeah, there's the Oppo, like I guess, and I think it's kind of I love the idea that they're playing with what will work for people. So like I think the Galaxy, the Fold S is very fascinating just because of that kind of really interesting idea of like it's the same screen but like kind of in different form factors. But then the G seems very practical. Like if you're kind of someone who is commuting a lot or telecommuting a lot and you need your large screen device, but you worry about what is likely a very expensive device getting damaged, then you can kind of prioritize protection. And
right.
And like I'm kind of curious to see whether honestly it'll just be like rollable foldables, rolling on the floor, folded
ruffleables.
Ruffleables don't have ridges or don't have creases. There we go.
Ruffleables don't have creases.
Wow, there you go. You're getting right to like just giving marketing tips. Yes. You do this all the time, and so you're fitting right in. This is excellent.
Yeah, but it'll be interesting if maybe that is what the thing is, because I think I've talked to a couple other dev friends that have the Fold, and the crease. I guess your mileage might vary on whether you start to like. Your brain starts to kind of paint over it, and whether that's what people care about. So, but just seeing all these different like varieties and flavors and seeing what wins out. I think this is, where we're getting to. We've got like over the hump of, okay, foldables can be a thing. People will buy them. Now it's like, okay, what specifically are people going to buy in the future? Or is it going to be like phones today where we have like 3 or 4 different ones? And whether you're an enterprise user, a telecommuter, whether you're just someone at home, like maybe you'll have just your pick of how you want to fold it.
Yeah, love it. It's a cool direction for everything to go, and it's going to keep Ron happy. I think sounds like it's going to keep you happy too. When
so cool, so cool. But there's more, right? It's not just that, right? We have something else, right? With the TCLs.
Well, no, I just put that in. That was just more along my kind of point that I made, that they're all working in that direction. That's actually oldish news. That was from December that TCL was showing off their own kind of concepts as well. But they're all kind of moving in that direction. Cool stuff.
I love this stuff. The crazier, the better. I want crazy phones. So I got to tell you, if I see this GD Wall Street Journal article about teens dreading the green text bubble one more time, if another person sends it to me, or it came up in my feed nonstop, or honestly, like there's a, tantamount of World War III going on in the WhatsApp chat with my in-laws, where I'm one of 2 Android users, is myself, and then my wife's aunt also has an Android phone, and everyone else is on iOS. And I moved everybody to WhatsApp so we can all be on the same thing. And my wife's cousin has been railing since seeing this article, and it's fascinating, but it drives me crazy. But basically, the net of it is the Wall Street Journal did this really, really good piece diving into the psychology that is driving teens to want iPhones because they don't want to be ostracized as the green text bubble in a group chat. And, and while I don't have teenagers yet, I have 3-year-olds, so I'm not there yet. I've heard, and Jason, I don't know if you heard about this with your oldest as of yet, or if she's still too young. I hope so. But I've heard from my sister, who has, teenage girls, that like the chat politics on their phones is like real, and like, and if you're not on iOS, you're not cool, and like all this nonsense. And what's interesting about the Wall Street Journal article is what I found was that they dove into some of the stuff that came out once again from the Epic Games lawsuit with Apple. In Discovery, it came out that several emails, I'm going to read these for, kind of, verbatim, so we have to say, but Craig Federighi, Apple's chief software executive in 2013, wrote, in absence of a strategy to become the primary messaging service for the bulk of cell phone users, I'm concerned that iMessage on Android would simply serve to remove an obstacle to iPhone families giving their kids Android phones. And then 3 years later in 2016, Phil Schiller, who was the marketing chief of Apple at the time, emailed Tim Cook, and in another email said, moving iMessage to Android will hurt us more than help us. Another former Apple executive said in an email, iMessage amounts to serious lock-in. So Apple knows damn well what they're doing here. And what the motivation is here, and the sad, sick thing is that it worked, and it's working, and it's just so disturbing. And yeah, for our video watchers, you can see the graph that's in there in terms of the skew in ages between Apple phones, basically, skyrocketing amongst, younger 18 to 24, and probably even younger than 18 now, which is also ridiculous considering how much they cost. And that adoption rate is just ridiculous. And a lot of it is driven by, there's a whole section of the Wall Street Journal article that's the subhead is never date a green texter, right? Which is just like unbelievable. And what I thought was interesting coming out of that article, of course, Hiroshi Lockheimer, friend of the show, chimed in and had a series of tweets and kind of talked about it, and basically made the point blank statement, which I fully support, which I applaud Hiroshi here. He says, we're not asking Apple to make iMessage available on Android. We're asking Apple to support the industry standard for modern messaging, RCS, in iMessage, just as they support the older SMS, MMS standards. And he says, why is that important? Because phone number based messaging is the fallback that we all know will work. And he's absolutely right. And there's a long thread that he did on January 10th that I encourage everybody to go read on Twitter that he wrote about it. But here, Apple, to support their sales and their profits to benefit their shareholders, have created something that drives lock-in, and then has created a segregation of level that is negatively affecting our children, period. Like, that's what's happening. Like that, we are training our children to ostracize someone who is different than them. Yeah, that's true. It's a really good point. I do have young kids, but they're not encountering this yet. Yeah, I mean, neither of them have phones, right? Like, I have one daughter who's almost 9 and one daughter who's almost 12. Neither of them have phones. Our plan has been that they don't really get phones until they're in like the 9th grade, and they're fine with it, and we're fine with it. But I don't know what this turns out to be, because I think more and more of their friends are starting to get phones. My daughters call their tablets iPads, but they're not iPads. They're Android tablets, but like, they don't know the difference. They don't really care about the difference. They do the thing, they just think of iPad as like a tablet. So maybe this will crop up at some point. But I think there was a Max Weinbach, also a friend of the show, did a video that Hiroshi kind of linked to in one of his tweets in the tweet storm, where he basically points out, like, this is Apple making a decision to draw the line, and not allow for a new standard to become ubiquitous. Essentially, it's essentially Apple saying, we are going to make the quality of life for not just Android users, but also iOS users lower because of that lock-in perspective, right? iMessage is a differentiator, or at least it was. But now we have RCS, which RCS mimics, basically does most of what iMessage does as well. It just happens to be a replacement for SMS, or an upgrade to SMS. And for everyone else, that's what it is.
except for Apple. And the reason is because, Apple's not going to
shareholder value.
Shareholder value, right? Like they have that lock in, and that's just crummy. Yeah, it's super unfortunate.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just, I mean, I could rant about it. I mean, I know we've spent years ranting about RCS and ranting about messaging and all this sort of stuff, but reading this Wall Street Journal article and seeing this and seeing it in play in my own family and friends and stuff like that, I've got social friends who be like, oh, green bubble, that sort of thing. And it's just like, right. I find it completely sickening. So stupid Apple.
The system, is designed in such a way that, it's easy to interpret that that's just, I think that's by design. And unfortunately, I don't know. At a certain point, is Apple compelled to support a standard, right? I don't know. I don't know if at a certain point, if everybody else is not using SMS, but is using RCS because it is the next SMS, but except Apple is not supporting it. But this is probably nothing to keep them to do that.
This isn't Apple's DNA, though. All of us have read and watched and done and absorbed everything we can about the history of technology, right? And what was the origin of Apple, thanks to Steve Jobs, was a closed architecture. Right. Mm-hmm. At the time of interoperability and standards and card slot designs and things like that would work across different things. He said, no, it's only going to work for us. I can't tell you the years I spent my teen years working in a computer repair store, and the expense that was spent on the stupid tool to actually open a Mac. Those original rectangle Macs, you couldn't open it with a regular screwdriver. You had to spend hundreds of dollars to get this dumb tool to do it, right? Like the limiting factor that Apple went to at that point in time. And then even now, not even RCS, but it's going on with Thunderbolt and USB-C.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
It's the same. I'm like, I can't tell you the number of times I've tried to stop myself from cursing on the show right now, but it's the same crap. It's the same playbook. And you would think that given so much of Apple's success when Steve Jobs returned was on the back of universal standards like USB, like MP3, like all this stuff, like everything that Apple is successful for now was built on the shoulders of a shared, standard that went across. And then they brought the iPhone and closed the App Store and did this iMessage crap and created this thing again. And they've done a very good job from a marketing standpoint by making something super tangible and super wanted or lusted after, right? I mean, it's genius. As someone who works in marketing and has business experience, I give them tons of respect for the campaigns and all that sort of stuff that they've done. But they've also now, for the past 15 years, brainwashed millions of people and have created what is tantamount to society, encouraging discrimination in society. Which we know for a fact is not along Steve Jobs' ideals, and or all the stuff, everyone should have a computer education, all this sort of stuff, and yet you create a world where literally people are ostracizing because of the color of their texts, right? I feel like it's a Star Trek episode. It's the black and white Star Trek episode all over again. It's it's crazy.
Or Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, it's crazy. Just crazy. And the fact that and I'm sorry, I'm ranting here, but the fact that so many people in our society, amongst our friends, amongst our family, whatever, laugh it off and go along with it is even more sickening. Not seeing that, that's what's really disappointing. I straight up called my cousin a bully. I'm like, I can't believe you're bullying your aunt into having to change her phone because you don't like her chat bubble color. It's unbelievable.
Right.
So,
right.
I don't know. It's really dangerous.
I've actually personally, and I totally agree with everything you said, wrong. And I mean, and if you all want a data point, I personally have it's not even just teens. It's even just grown people. I've my husband and I were literally sitting at a restaurant and overheard one person more or less bullying their lunchmate over the fact that they had an Android phone and they had iOS. And of course, there wasn't a discussion. It was just he was bullying her. And there was no discussion about pluses and cons. Just like, no, it sucks. That was literally what he said. And even me as an Android dev, I wouldn't say I've gotten bullied, but I've definitely had people tell me to my face, oh, well, Android sucks or something, or iOS is better, like to my face, knowing that's what I do for a living. Or even just like when it wasn't even part of the conversation, I'd be like at classes and, sometimes we pull out our phones to record people and things like that. I would have people just like, I'm an Android dev. This is like what I do, like kind of explaining, I almost feel like I have to apologize for having an Android phone. And that's something I shouldn't have to do, but it is definitely a feeling where I'm the one person in Android phone. I felt pressure to say, oh, it's because I'm an Android dev. I'm sorry, which is absolutely BS. But
Yeah.
I mean, the social pressure is real and it's there. I mean, I don't think we're making anything up. I don't think we're, overblowing anything. It's real. And I think, anyway, preach.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is sad because it like reminds me of the crap I get. I have a debit card with the Mets logo on it because I'm a Mets fan. And like here on Long Island, I'll take it out at the supermarket and someone behind me will like, oh, no wonder it's taking so long. It's a Mets fan, and it's the tribalism and the inherent, pitting us against each other for things we believe in or ways we look or things like that within human nature that scares the crap out of me. Cause this is like, I know that it's hyperbolic, but it's tantamount to racism. Now I understand how racists exist in the world because they think so justified in their belief that their color is right. And it makes me want to vomit. It just, yeah. So,
and actually has, real world consequences, outside of just it hurt my feelings,
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Preach, Ron. Good stuff.
So I feel like every year we try to determine this is the year of the ... And I really wanted 2022 to be the year of the tablet because it sure looked like things were going in that direction with, we started the year with Android L, with Android 12L or whatever, the expanded, the support of larger devices.
That's right.
And Google just teased us with the Pixel tablet, which now is coming in 2023. So maybe next year will be the year of the tablet. But I feel like tablets were more in play this year. Don't you think?
Kind of seemed like maybe that was the direction that it was going. I guess my question before we go into the clip is, when do you think that we made it there, or is it still kind of set up at this point?
I think we're getting there. I think mostly thanks to Samsung. I mean, this was the year that I went large screen and am not really interested in looking back. So I think there is a little bit for realsies this time, but partly not just from Google, pulling this up by the shoelaces, but also by Samsung and other folks just being okay, we'll do it. Yeah. So maybe like properly tablets, the year of the tablets might be 2023, but I think we're meandering that way.
Yeah.
We're starting to kind of warm up, they're kind of like, doing some
stretching,
warm ups, like mobility. Yeah. Getting those hinges, getting those
doing some Pilates.
Yeah. And just getting ready for tablets. Yeah, working the core.
Yeah. It's more big screens, maybe less than tablets, because tablets is a different type of big screen than the foldables. But anyways, this clip is, both of you were out for this episode, and we hadn't had Matteo Doni, very repeat friend of the show, on in a while. So Matteo joined me, and we talked about the future of computing, at least at that point, Android tablets.
Well, since Ron's not here to critique my Android news bumper, I'm just going to toss it. I'm tossing it.
You should be very happy that Ron's not here to critique your bumper. I thought that was okay. I thought it was a good one. I'd give you a 6 out of 10.
I think that was
good job.
That was a good one. Though it does take a bit of the enjoyment away without hearing Ron's eyes rolling and seeing him sighing.
Yeah, you can hear those eyeballs swish from one side to the other.
Victor and I definitely agreed on that, like before the show. Yes, absolutely.
Right on. All right, so top story isn't. Well, I guess it's newsy, but this is a topic that I'm gonna introduce it, and you're gonna be like, really? We're here again? Google and its ambitions with tablets is the top story. Obviously we've talked about Google and tablets and their successes, but probably more importantly, their failures over the years. But we're starting to see multiple clues that show that Google might be getting interested again. Who knows what that leads to? I would say a lot of people aren't very optimistic about where that leads. It might just be a little too late, by comparison to things like the iPad, but we've got some clues. Android 12L, we already know this is the next version of Android. It's kind of a step up version from Android 12, which is already out. Android 12L, from my understanding, has been really designed for larger screen devices, but almost more specifically to foldable devices. But the beauty there is when you unfold a device, sure, there's the foldable aspects that the OS has to adhere to, but then you end up with a really large screen. So maybe there's more incentive to go back in there with Android and kind of make the changes to make it work not only on the foldable, but also on the unfolded large screen. And that translates over to tablets. So we already know, Google's been working hard on that. The beta tests, the beta versions of Android 12L are out there. We're kind of, waiting for the official release of that. But 9 to 5 Google spotted a job listing for a senior engineer manager in the Android tablet app experience group. And the listing itself says, we believe that the future of computing is shifting towards more powerful and capable tablets. That right there is a big statement coming from Google, who has really been very wishy-washy with tablets. It also says we're working to deliver the next chapter of computing and input by launching seamless support across our platforms and hero experiences that unlock new and better ways of being productive and creative. That could have to do with Chrome OS, and how it interacts with Android. That could have to do with foldables. That could also have to do with tablets, which is what this job listing was for. And a friend of the show, J.R. Raphael from Computer World, also spotted that Rich Miner, who is a co-founder of Android, one of the co-founders of Android, has for the last number of years been busy in Google Ventures and other educational projects at Google, but returned to the Android division as of March 2021 and might actually have some sort of involvement with this kind of like new revitalized push in tablets, and we've seen some of these kind of developments. We've talked on the show about Kids Space, which is like an Android tablet is like an official Android version of like a kids zone that sometimes you buy other manufacturers' tablets, and they've created these kind of like siloed kid areas. So Android has that. Entertainment Space is another one. I'm curious to know though, like, how do you feel about Google caring about tablets again? Do you think this leads to a world where Android tablets can actually finally kind of prove themselves as something that people want, or are we too far past this? I mean, I feel like this is really late to learn any lessons about this because we've already kind of made up our minds.
I think there's two ways of looking at this. The first one is from a development standpoint. Google has been a bit fragmented internally about what they thought tablets were. We saw their early efforts with up to the Nexus 9. The tablet experience at Google was okay, but it never really sold well. It was never really sold well to their hardware partners in the Open Handset Alliance. So they didn't really do very well then. And then there seems to have been a shift of effort towards Chrome OS and things like the Lenovo Chromebook tablet or the Chromebook Duet tablet form factor and product package. So Google has really let the actual Android tablet ecosystem go. And companies like Lenovo have stepped in and filled that gap that Google really didn't care about that much. But more importantly, Amazon have really just killed it in the last couple of years with the Amazon Fire tablets. From what I see, a lot of markets in Europe and the US and Canada have done very well with Fire tablets. And especially during the pandemic when people were homeschooling, it people really couldn't afford to spend a lot of money on a fruity tablet from Apple. And they ended up buying the whole family Android tablets, which were in fact Amazon Fire tablets. So Google is at this point at a risk of completely losing control of the tablet ecosystem, and forks of Android or their OEMs, ODMs are going to do very well with it. So I think they need to put a bit of effort back into it and rein in this sort of sprawling ecosystem they have little control over, and they can't get their services on. For example, on the Amazon tablets, it's quite difficult as a user to get the Google services sideloaded. And for most users, they'll never have them apart from within the Amazon web browser. So I think what Google need to do is obviously improve their tablet ecosystem, but also maybe re-architecture it from the ground up so that they can regain control of it and get Google services and all their media services on it. Because at the moment, they're at risk of losing out on that whole market segment, that whole computing experience, where others have stepped in to fill the gap. So it will be interesting to see, obviously, if they're hiring now for a senior engineering manager for the tablet experience, it'll be at least 18 months before we see some tangible results from this hiring process. It's not something that you do overnight. They have to re-engineer things from the ground up, or they already have a roadmap, but it needs to be implemented.
Yeah, that's one of the questions that I had, because the kids space, entertainment space, these are kind of tablet forward kind of changes to Android that happened like a year ago. You know what I mean? So there was some action here, some movement here, at least in that regard. And then Android 12L, it's about larger screen devices. That's already in motion. But I think you're right. This is probably a little ways out. I was trying to do some quick searches to see, like, of all the rumors that we've been hearing about and everything, I think a Pixel tablet is not a rumor that I've really noticed or paid close attention to. But I did a quick search, and yeah, it looks like there was a patent last June that kind of points to the idea of a Google Pixel tablet of some sort. And I haven't really dug into this to really understand like what sets it apart, what's different, what's specific about it. But if Google's putting its efforts into revitalizing its tablet side of its business, I mean, you kind of imagine that there would be a Pixel tablet at some point, especially if they're coming out with a watch at some point, which we've heard a lot about, especially if they're coming out with, a foldable, like we've heard about as well. So heck, there could be all sorts of Pixel devices. And that might be Google's, something Google's really working towards. We want a family of all different, device types. And this would fall into that category. Who knows?
Well, back in the day, we're now talking about 6-7 years ago, Google used to sell itself as build yourself your apps once and make them scalable to all screen sizes, whether that's phones, tablets, and TV screens. I think that they essentially gave up on that after a while. Most of the larger developers were used to having a slightly different release for iPads. So they said, why not do the same for Android? Have one release for phones, one release for tablets. And sadly, it never really took off, the whole scalability of Android, as in having one paradigm for your app user experience that would scale seamlessly, never really happened for most apps. I believe that they're doing a passable job on Chrome OS with the Android runtime on there and having placed the Play Store there. They've kept that alive barely, but things really need to bring others on board to give good experiences and take back that experience that companies like Amazon have really won in. There's so many people using Amazon tablets now. I wouldn't be surprised to see there are more people using Amazon tablets than Android tablets in some markets.
I'd be curious to know that, know that stat as well.
To round us out, I'm very honored to return back to the show after being gone for 2 weeks with the honor of sharing with you the email of the week. Right on cue. It's like, oh, sweet, sweet music. Thank you, Burke, for that email of the week fanfare. And here.
I didn't know if that was going to happen.
Me too. I thought I caught him off guard. So congratulations to David Wilmore, who writes in and says, I'm a bit lagged as I just listened to All About Android 562, where Ron was talking about some of his old phones that he recently rediscovered. There were a few with rubberized plastic, which had turned sticky. There's an easy fix for that. Just take a rag, wet it with some rubbing alcohol, and wipe the plastic. It will remove the tacky feeling and restore the device feel to new. Some plastics may change texture a little bit when you do this, so beware. I hope this helps him restore his old friends. And thank you, David. I'm going to take your advice this weekend, and I'm going to de-tacky my Nexus 5, and I'm going to put it in a little shadow box frame and hang it on the wall. So thank you. I wonder
That's
if
awesome.
I could rig... This is like if I was much more crafty and did more things on YouTube and things like that. You get a little shadow box with a charger plug plugged into the phone that you can plug into the wall. So to keep the device on in the box and always running some sort of thing.
That would be cool. I love that.
Someone much cooler that goes to Maker Faire than I could put that together and sell it. So there's an idea.
For
Just
sure.
give me one when you do it. But in the meantime, thanks for that advice, David. Everybody take heed. If you have rubberized plastic that's been sitting in a box for 5 years, you can de-tacky it with rubbing alcohol, but beware, it might change the texture. And congratulations on your, as far as I know, first email of the week.
Even Burke has confirmed in our Slack, this works in all caps. So he basically yelled that to us. He said, this works.
I don't think that there's any difference between Burke. It's always yelling. It's just always yelling.
Burke is all caps all the time. I'm Jason Howell. It's also your weekly source for the latest people in real life sitting next to me.
Like me, I'm Ron Richards, and I'm here in the studio.
Woo! And also sitting next to me, but dang it, in digital form. Why?
It's me, Huyen Dao, and I don't get to be in the studio, but I'm still here.
I wish that you were. Like there's a space at the table for you, Huyen.
Someday we'll figure that. We'll coordinate that. But we
got to make it happen.
I don't want to make it all about me, but I am here in the studio. I happen to be on the West Coast. It all worked out. We looked up before the show started. The last time I was here was December 2018. So it has been 19, 21, 2. I can't do math. 4 or 5 years.
3.5 years.
Oh my goodness.
Because December 2018.
Right. No, my kids are 3. Yeah.
So about 3-ish.
Yeah. And we also did the math and found out I was here like 5 days before my kids were born. So, which is crazy. So it's been 3 years. So it's been almost exactly a little more than 3 years.
It's always interesting to me to look at moments like that because in that moment that you were sitting here, you had no idea that your life was about to change in 5 days. Like 5 days later, everything would be different.
And I was well rested.
Yes.
I did things socially. No, it's been great.
I had a social life.
I will say that I was here for a wedding this past weekend.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm on the West Coast. And I think I was maybe in California for about an hour before I'm like, I miss my kids. So so I'm definitely looking forward to getting home. But it is so great to be here. It's so great to see Burke. So great to see you. Great to see Huyen like through a TV, like in a bigger screen. Like that's pretty cool. So and I'm excited to be back like old times. So here we are.
That's right.
Right.
We got to get adjusted to it. We were also talking before the show, like there's a certain comfort that actually comes through when you're hosting a show like on the other side of a screen. Like I'm used to being in the studio. And the last couple of years, of course, have been very different. So I've gotten very used to doing the shows on the screen side of things. And it's like I only have one place to look. Like everything I need is on the screen. And then when you get into the studio, it's almost like coming back to it. It's almost like overload.
Yeah.
Because there's just stuff everywhere. It's like, what is distracting me now?
Well, part of it, I mean, admittedly, this travel has been very overwhelming because it was just weird to be out in the world again. And to fly and be in the airport, then be in the city. And like, especially because I'm now in the suburbs and I never leave my house. So it's like, it's definitely has been a trip all around. So but I'm excited. So it's very cool.
Before we start things off, Huyen, I want to ask you, because you had a pretty awesome experience recently and you have something coming up. Do you want to tell people a little bit about it and what they can expect to see from you?
Yeah. So I also got on, I've been on flights since all this happened, but 2 weeks ago, I actually got on a international flight and went to London for 2.5 days. Don't do that. Take time when you're traveling internationally. But my husband and I hopped over to London for 2.5 days because I got to co-host the Android show this quarter for the Android team. And if you're not familiar with it, the Android show is it's a pretty like it's kind of like a Google I/O Hyperlight, like I won't say Splenda because I find it quite fun, delicious, enjoyable, but it's like a super mini version of.
It's almost time for another.
Oh my gosh, that's my voice and Florina's voice. It's basically kind of like sort of marketing, but also educational events, community events that Android does. Actually, last year they had Carrie from Mythbusters. They had Carrie from Mythbusters hosting. Oh my god, they Carrie from Mythbusters hosting, but this year they had a GDE, me, and a Googler, my dear friend Florina, hosting. So I flew out to London to film some stuff, an interview with Rich Miner, who was the co-founder of Android and also now CTO of tablets. We got to kind of talk about some of the new stuff in Android 13. And anyway, there's some recorded bits. There's going to be a live Q&A with the Android team, and that's all happening tomorrow, 10 a.m. Pacific time. If you're interested in Android development and what's new in Android 13 on the dev side, check it out on the Android developers YouTube channel. But that was my big thing.
That's awesome.
Yes.
And I was just commenting, you did it with Florina, who's been on the show.
Yeah. Episode 443 with Nick Butcher.
Yeah.
This was a couple of years ago, back in October of 2019. We had both of them on.
Yeah.
So, that's our London crew. Were they here for I/O?
It must have been.
Well, that was October.
Was there another event or something?
Oh, I mean, maybe it was Android Dev Summit or ADS.
Yeah, well, we didn't have them in studio. They were both on Skype at the time. So I don't know if they were actually. I can't remember if they were in town for anything in particular. But I had met Nick at I/O a number of times, and we had talked about making it happen. And then, he said, well, what about Florina also? And so we got to talk to
I remember
both
that
of
show.
them.
That was great.
Yeah.
One of the things with no I/O has been finding people to come on the show.
Yeah. Well, maybe that'll change.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's the over-under on I/O actually happening in person this year?
I don't know.
It's probably going to happen.
I don't know.
Right?
I got invited to like parties at South by, and I was like, what year is it? I was like, where are we? I was like, I'm not going to South by. No. But yeah, so I guess stuff's happening. Maybe they bring back I/O. That'd be nice.
Maybe.
So,
Well, probably.
Cool. I would definitely come over on that side of the country for that. So
I will say I drove by Moscone West yesterday, and I remembered standing at the window when you guys were at I/O and I wasn't invited.
Open this door. Yeah. Well, we probably won't have to wait that long before we start hearing about Google I/O.
Yeah, well,
it's March.
No.
We're going to talk about something in the hardware block that might apply to that too. So,
okay.
Yeah, so we'll see. So there's a tease, as they say.
There we go.
So, all right. Shall we do it?
Let's do it. Let's jump into news, Burke. Hit that button.
I think we got to send Ron back outside. I still hear the noise. Can you please leave the building and come back in?
Seriously? No, you're kidding.
Can you adjust?
Is it me?
Adjust your mic volume?
Is it me?
It's you.
It might be me.
Anyone who has not watched live would not know that Burke and Ron every week. It's
well, last week got bad because there was some sort of phantom noise that I couldn't hear that you guys heard that was happening with my mic and all stuff like that. I literally brought my mic to give to Burke. You back
it's true.
Honestly, Burke, I can say that's probably my favorite news bumper that you've done.
That was pretty good.
There you go.
That was pretty good. Good job.
You're welcome.
You won today. This story blew up. Wow, everybody was talking about Samsung versus Geekbench. We'll call it a saga. Android police. I would say they lived up to their name because they did some investigative work.
It really
here.
did.
Oh yeah. Heck yeah.
There was a list that was circulating on Twitter. I had to kind of like pour through this to like kind of put together the timeline and understand it. But to my understanding, there was a list that was circulating on Twitter that said, hey, here's a huge list of games that are being throttled on the latest Samsung Galaxy S devices, the most recent ones. And then Max Weinbach from Android Police started doing a bunch of testing and was able to kind of basically spoof the system with certain games to say, all right, here's the game the way the system sees it, and here's the game when we trick it, to not see it that way. And he found out in his testing that in a few cases here, 45% single core performance. So that's a pretty big drop. 28% multi-core performance. Essentially, what was being alleged here is that Samsung was throttling devices in order to run certain games. So it's very specific to certain games. At least Samsung's saying it's just games, but TikTok is one of them. So it's apps as well.
Right.
And, so everybody's looking at this going, okay, why are they throttling for these apps in these games? GPU performance drops an estimated 54 to 58%. So significant percentage drops in performance. Jeez. You have to imagine Samsung was doing it for a reason.
Right.
Probably.
Why would they?
Extend battery, safety, maybe, whatever it is. They want their phones to look good, but in doing so, are you harming the performance of the actual app? Geekbench then announced that it's going to delist a number of Samsung's phones as a result. They're saying, we can't trust you, Samsung.
Wow.
And you might remember, we talked about this with the OnePlus 9 and the 9 Pro, because this happened with them as well. Geekbench booted them as well. Samsung is defending its game optimization service. Like I said, they claim that it only affects games, but independent testing seemed to say otherwise, that there were a lot of apps, and I mean a number of them. And so very curious. Cousin of Ja in chat asks, can we disable this optimization?
That's a great question.
That's one of the kind of snags with this, is that no, you can't. Currently you can't. And up until this happened, you didn't even know it existed. And I think that's the crux of what's going on here. I can kind of understand-ish if a device needs to make accommodations to, for certain things, but at least inform the user and give the user the ability to opt out of it if they so choose.
You may see, in order for your phone to work properly, you may see affected performance, like some sort of thing like that.
Right.
Awareness that is happening.
Because this is where I'm really curious how you feel about this, because this is a decision that Samsung and OnePlus, in the other example, is making on behalf of all the developers of the apps that are out there to say, we know how your app runs better on our phone than you do. So therefore, we're going to do this. We're not going to tell anybody about it. The potential is there for someone on the playing side of that game, let's say, to go, this game isn't running properly for me. Wow, this developer sucks. How do you feel about that?
I feel bad about it. I mean, so
don't feel too bad. You're not,
I mean, and they not me personally, but so as far as I'm concerned, the performance of your app is a lot on you. You know what I mean? Like a lot of things that make an app run badly are things that are known, that are good practices, that are just for example, I don't know, even when I play my favorite little mobile game, Polytopia, I love you, Polytopia, but for some reason you eat my battery. And I can only guess that it's something to do with some networking that's happening in the background, some weird syncing. And as much as I love the game, I feel like it's the developer's responsibility to kind of take that feedback and do something with it and make their performance better. I think if the manufacturer is trying to lend you a hand by hamstringing the phone, that's not a solution. That's not a solution. And so I wouldn't want it as a user or as a developer. Maybe some other devs do, but I don't. And I also believe in transparency for the users. And again, like you said, if there is no transparency, if we don't know what's going on, if users don't know what's going on, they're going to blame us, and we're going to look at ourselves and be like, I don't understand what's going on. And that's actually, deving is hard. I mean, obviously, sometimes we make mistakes that we shouldn't, and sometimes we make mistakes that we don't realize. And trying to track down performance issues is like a full-time job.
It's like a needle in a haystack. It's a needle in a haystack, right? It could be one. It could be one reference, or it could be one subroutine that is throwing everything off. I mean,
I saw something on Twitter. I can't remember if it was in relation to this story or a different one. It's something like 2,000 smartphones released last year alone. 2,000 Android smartphones.
Yeah,
all those flavors.
And that's what developers are facing as far as optimizing their app.
Don't say the F word. Don't say the F word.
That sounds really, I don't know. Difficult.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say it.
But so my thought, a couple of thoughts here. One is that I absolutely agree with you. For me, it seems like the Samsung should generate, these are the list of apps that we think need to be adjusted. Hey, developer, this is what we found. You should, do some development outreach. Jason, to your point, make the user aware of it and make it turn onable, turn offable.
Yeah.
But I would at this point, I think Samsung needs, I kicked my mic. Samsung needs some sort of transparency into why they were doing it. We hope it's for battery optimization or for processing, but Samsung puts a whole bunch of crap on that phone.
Yeah.
How do we know they're not doing it to make sure that their Samsung thing doesn't work better?
I
You know what I mean?
considered
Like
that.
Yeah, like they don't want to sacrifice CPU cycles for software that's not theirs.
Oh,
That's what worries me about
That's an
this.
interesting thought.
It's kind of BS because so part of this does seem a little on top of the fact that I don't think that's necessary for Samsung to basically scold us like they're not even scolding us. They're basically just kind of like, pushing us to like, I don't know, like the safe side of the road. The thing is like with performance, there's plenty of markers and plenty of metrics. And if it's game oriented, then that's a little bit out of my space. So I don't know if the tools are different for gaming, but we have plenty of tools and like practices, and there's like third-party companies. There's stuff in the Android store that lets you understand your performance. So I just don't buy it that we're all so hopeless that Samsung feels the need to take our toys away and take our processing power away. Because this is not like 2012, 2011. This is 2022. People understand, people appreciate, like developers appreciate how this works. I don't buy it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I don't mean to be beating it.
It's all
Samsung
sketchy.
yet again.
It's all sketchy.
Yep.
It's all sketchy.
Maybe Samsung thinks that if these games are too awesome and their battery might light on fire.
Well, but what's also interesting that they said this is for games only, but like you said, TikTok is one of them. So are they categorizing TikTok as a game?
I don't know.
Which I mean, I could say, entertainment. I could see it falling in. Categories are weird and things like that. But like, also TikTok probably is like one of the most highly used apps on all devices, right? And so I don't know, this whole thing's sketchy. Sketchy.
Interesting.
Sketchy Samsung.
Like
we see you. We see right through you, sketchy Samsung.
I think it's very interesting that Geekbench, which is a pretty well-known. Reputable. What is the word that I'm looking for?
Platform outlet,
but benchmarking. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. Benchmarking, service bans Samsung, one of the biggest Android.
And honestly, good for them for holding their own.
Yeah,
and to be a fly in the wall at Samsung HQ, like whoever saw the note and is like, we've been banned. Like, and I imagine them all running into a conference room and figuring out strategy. And
not Geekbench.
I know.
Oh no,
but clearly it's enough that they issued a statement.
People are upset.
Yeah, people.
I had like the Vegas what was it? Was it? This is just me wildly speculating and just talking. Like, this may be totally unfair, but it kind of reminded me of that whole thing with Volkswagen where they were like trying to cheat emissions tests.
Totally.
Right? So
I think that's a fair comparison.
Yeah. And they tweaked it so that when the test is running, they behave.
Yeah.
The test is off. They do whatever they want. So it almost feels like they want their devices to test well and be performant.
Yes.
But they also want to have good battery life and like reduction in heat and all that stuff too. So they're having it both ways.
They're hacking the system. That's what it is.
I think that's a fair comparison.
Not cool.
And not the first time we've heard about it in the Android space, but with Samsung,
Listen, Samsung, you just got labeled sketchy by All About Android. Let's see you issue a statement about that. Dude, sketchy. I want
full screen stamp.
Yeah, I want the stencil, the red. Sketchy.
Right, there we go.
Do we have that? Is that in the budget?
Whip that together real quick.
I'll work on that.
Okay.
Sketchy.
Well, I think like 2022 was a really interesting year for Android Auto, both good and bad and then good. But I think we had some like really good news around IO, like post IO, when we started talking about kind of some of the updates to Android Auto, kind of like making the usability of it a little bit better, maybe a little bit safer with like a finally getting like a split screen mode with Android Auto. And actually that was a full house, wasn't it? When we got to talk about the new split screen options.
Yeah, we had the three of us. We had Flo joining. We had Mike Wolfson, who just year after year is almost always with us every year around Google I/O. So it was great. And you got to go to I/O even though it was very different and strange.
It was a weird one. It was a weird one. I think both Mike and I were kind of underwhelmed. We kind of just felt like seat fillers for the keynote. And then they kind of let us meander about a very empty shoreline, and then we went home. But the I/O spectacle doesn't matter so much as like the actual content and the actual concrete things we got out of it. So, some good changes to Android Auto is a good thing. And it kind of like, it really fits the theme of like kind of going back to like large screens and form factors. It just really seems like Google's really trying to spread its like googliness out to all the form factors and like for serious this time. And so I think that kind of makes sense that along with tablets, along with foldables, that Android Auto kind of got some love that makes it a little more adaptable to like all the different screens. Cause that's an Android thing, right? We're everywhere and all kinds of different configurations and display resolutions and apparently cars too.
Yes, indeed. All right. So here, take a gander at what some of the makeover of Android Auto's split screen actually looks like. Up next.
So I've got the one that gives me the most headache, which is Android Auto.
Oh, yay.
Perfect.
Yay.
And this is not because of developers out there. I mean, I guess it is a little bit because of Google. This strategy it's getting better. It's getting more pointed. So what's happening is you can expect a revised interface to hit your Android Auto in-dash infotainment system coming soon. What's really cool about this one is that it includes a split screen mode. So that's going to be adaptable to different screen sizes. And This is particularly important because in addition to the fragmentation we've already experienced as Android users of the phone, there's now fragmentation of screen sizes in cars, especially like manufacturers. There is no one set size as you see in this animated image. My Subaru has like an 11-inch tablet situation going on with only half the screen that's devoted to Android Auto. And so that half of the screen is going to use this split screen mode so that you can get more information into, whatever is allotted there for you by your car, by the OEM, your car manufacturer. So it's going to be good for usability. Supposedly, again, I haven't used it, and I'm the end-all be-all of user testing. So
yes, Google relies on only your feedback. It's true. So
only my feedback. I did ask because I had a meeting with Google about this, and I did ask about the phone app. And it being deprecated. And
just get over it.
I didn't get a lot. I didn't get a lot, just that the assistant mode is going to get better.
Okay.
I'm still waiting. Currently, I have no idea where I'm driving ever in my actual car. So,
do you have Android? But you have Android Auto as a...
That's in the family car, Jason. That's not my car.
Oh, okay.
Not my car. It's the family car, Jason.
Now I understand. Now I get it.
Jason, what it's like. You have your own car with, you have to have your own mood. Anyway,
your own layout.
more assistant integration coming to Android Auto, which is always good. We're talking about things like paying wirelessly for parking, and that's just going to become more commonplace in the next couple of years. The infrastructure for that is really small right now, but it's happening, especially in major metro areas. Also, another big thing was there's more video streaming coming. So Epix and Tubi, which are both free streaming services.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. One thing to note about this distinction is that, if I recall correctly, this is coming to Android Automotive OS, which is the embedded software inside cars. That's kind of a different product pipeline than what we're talking about with Android Auto. I think they will probably make this available at some point to just regular Android Auto users. But my understanding is that this video streaming capability, what's happening here is all to kind of like set a base for the future cars that are going to have Android Automotive pulsating through them. Just
powering
think of
them.
Another description.
Yeah.
So look forward to this new UI this summer. Okay. I am looking forward to it. The biggest thing to know about it, because of that split screen mode, you're now going to have navigation and media controls on the same screen, which is very important because it means you're going to tap at the screen a little bit less while you're behind the wheel, just to be able to get through the different options.
So with an Android Auto interface, like if you have the maps up, that normally there's no like music controls whatsoever showing there. You have to, that sucks.
It's in a separate, you have to tap into the app, which is like in this little launcher dock area that they added. It's a lot better than the previous iterations, but it would just make more sense to have it all there the way that like the Subaru stock OS that I have in in the family car.
I mean,
the way that
everybody uses these things, I'm sure, a little bit differently, but I'd say the predominant majority of people are probably listening to something and probably have use for the maps. I mean, not everybody uses maps to go everywhere, but those two things running concurrently seems like something that I imagine a large percentage of people want at the same time. Yeah, exactly. Those two things, pretty
traffic
standard.
And media controls. And I just want to add my biggest pet peeve right now, since I have the conch, is that this assistant driving mode on the phone doesn't easily let you go and change media apps. So I can't like jump into a podcast. I can only control Spotify. I cannot go into Pocket Casts. Don't use Spotify for podcasts. Stop getting me to use Spotify for podcasts.
Is the assistant driving mode the thing that appears if I launch Maps and navigate somewhere and then it's down in the bottom corner, or is it down in the bottom like third of the screen?
Yeah. Or what you do is you go into your car like me, you wait for the Rove Bolt to turn on, and then you go, okay, G, turn on driving mode. And then it officially brings up like the full screen. Otherwise, you're just in the regular phone mode, and everything's a lot smaller, which is harder for tapping.
Why?
I will say,
very precise and thorough.
I will say that recently, I this past weekend, I drove up to Vermont to go to a wedding. So I was in the car for 6 hours, and I was like, all right, well, I'm using Android Auto. Let's do it. And because I'm plugging in via USB cable, I forgot to bring my A wireless, but it would have killed my battery. But because I'm on a Subaru where the head unit allows you to choose Android Auto as an app, switching between the radio and the maps and Android Auto was just a nightmare. Like having to like leave Android Auto to go to Sirius XM, change the station, then go back to.
Time. Oh my god! I get so angry every time. This is why I don't drive. I don't like driving the Subaru, even though it has Android Auto in it, because it's just like.
Because it's a bolt-on, like it's not totally integrated. When we switched over to listening to Pocket Cast, it was fine because it was all, if you're contained in the Android Auto experience, then that's fine. But so
when you have to go out of it,
it'd be a lot cooler if there's a way to bridge to control the car's radio system from Android Auto. If there was a way to go out, I don't know. So
like a common language that,
I don't know. But going back to the stuff that they announced at I.O., I was fascinated by that video of like the display in the car that changes shape. That's pretty cool. I want that car.
It just magically turns from landscape to portrait.
Narrow. Sign me up for that
Coming
car.
to BMWs in 2027.
What display do you want? Because this display can be all of them.
Yeah, exactly. Just
it's a rollable in every direction. Yeah.
But it really is like, it really does speak though to this strategy they're doing with Android Auto is very similar to what they were doing with Android on phones. Just with regards to like so many different screen sizes now. Some OEMs want to have it like Subaru, it works on top of their OS. Others like Volvo, I think, has it fully integrated in the car. Like just when you turn the car on, it's made of Android. So this future is a little weird, and I really am concerned about it, but I've said it before and many times again about why. So
it keeps getting just a little bit better each time, just a little bit better.
Do we have a rumor bumper?
I don't
know. We need a rumor bumper, I think, Victor.
Surprised if at some point we did breaking rumors. Let's just break news. Okay. That's
breaking rumors.
That was good.
That was purely Burke trying to get out of having to do the news bumper.
Yeah, but it's not going to happen because Burke, it's time for the news.
I hate to compound this whole lack of news, but it got leaked on eBay this morning.
You got leaked on eBay. Yeah. Then it got pulled. All right. So this was kind of crazy. This happened. I was like, oh, we're definitely talking about this. And
for sure.
It's the
This
leak.
isn't even a rumor. This happened. This is fact.
No, that's true. I guess this is really fact.
Before you read the story, I'm going to say I believe 100% in this one.
Do you? Because it could be a pretend thing. It never sold.
It could be.
What are we even talking about right now?
Let's talk about it for 10 minutes without telling them what it is.
Yes,
let's talk in vague generalities. I'm sorry.
Yes, and I'm sure a certain percentage of our listeners would unsubscribe at that point.
No, No. Stay. Please stay. So.
Google, as we know at Google I/O, took the lid off of the Pixel 7. Basically, they got ahead of any of the rumors and said, hey, here it is. It's got a shiny metallic camera bar on back. And they didn't really go into too much detail about it other than to acknowledge that it exists, show you a couple of photos of it, and give tech writers everywhere a hero image for all articles that they write from here until the phone releases, basically.
And the whole spoiling the leaks and the, hey, the next phone's coming, here's what it looks like, and thus taking the wind out of our sails for months.
Yeah.
Right?
Or did they? Because
Dun, dun, dun.
apparently that doesn't mean that leaks can't happen, because it kind of is. Okay, I guess there's a difference between rumors and leaks, but I kind of put them in similar categories. Yeah. An eBay listing for the Pixel 7 appeared very briefly on, you guessed it, eBay. A prototype for the standard device. So this wasn't the Pro device. This was the standard Pixel 7. And you know this because when you look at the camera bar, it has one less camera and everything like that. Yeah. Also included wow, what am I looking at?
Whoa. Who did this?
Oh, whoops! Sorry, that's the thing that leaked this morning from the news bumper. Sorry.
So for our audio, pull that back up. For our audio listeners, for some reason, Burke on the video just pulled together a screenshot from eBay where somebody is selling Burke's epic Android news bumper for $19.98, and it's got
legit.
the Android news bumper. It looks legitimate. It does.
Yeah,
Is this to illustrate the fact that someone can put together a photoshopped eBay listing?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Is that commentary on the story?
Yeah, are you making a point right now?
Yeah.
Someone could do that?
Yeah, apparently. Screenshots are pretty easy to make.
I wasn't trying to make that point.
Except friend of the show, Michelle Rahman, actually, I don't know if he discovered it or what, but he tweeted about it early while it was, I think there was still a listing. If you try and go to eBay now and look at the listing, you can only get it on this this listing has ended by the seller page. But if you actually hit that see original listing button next to the title of that listing,
you can still see it.
It won't take you there. I think it.
Oh, interesting.
Because it was ended by the seller. It's possible that you could go to, I'm not sure, but it's possible that you could go to archive.
Or maybe if you're like if you're like a registered seller or something.
Maybe.
I don't know. I don't do eBay, so I wouldn't know.
Yeah. So,
because that thing was legit.
A part of us has to just kind of go off of some of the articles. Although Eric Duckman is sharing a listing. Yeah, it's the same thing, Eric. So, yeah, you can see that kind of like landing page, but when you try and go in for more detail, it doesn't let you. So what happened here? Well, apparently the person who put it up for sale did so, listed it as a starting bid of $450. But apparently this person, it's a prototype of the standard device, right? So it's a prototype. That seller bought it, or so he or she claims, from a wholesaler, and they didn't actually know what they were buying. They looked it up later and realized, oh, wait a minute, this is the Pixel 7. And so they put it up. So there's no information right now as far as why that listing was removed. Did Google get involved and say, hey, take this down, you can't sell that? Did they find a buyer outside of eBay, which you could do and you could pull down the listing? Did they decide, hey, wait, this is hard to find, maybe I want to hold on to this for some reason? One thing that I think is curious, and it included a bunch of a carousel of a bunch of photos of the device and everything. But if you look at some of the photos that were included, the reflection off of the device is the Pixel 7 Pro taking the picture. So apparently that person is like flush with Pixel 7 prototypes of all different kinds. So there you have it. We can't buy it, but you could potentially for a short bit.
It's I don't know. This whole thing is strange.
Orchestrated by Google. Okay, so how about on this one, confidence meter, because it probably is the Pixel 7. Yeah. Well, actually, but it could not be. So maybe we just need to keep locked into the idea.
But
do you think it's real?
I do like the fact that the photos had the reflection of a Pixel 7 Pro taking it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So someone had multiple had a Pixel 7 and a Pixel 7 Pro and were taking pictures with the Pixel 7 Pro. Like
apparently.
you can't. I mean, I guess you could architect that on Photoshop, but I feel like that would be very hard to replicate. You know what I mean? That's a very specific detail, right?
Yeah. Is that the photo that has the really? Yeah, I mean that shows it a little bit. I feel like I saw. The bar.
Yeah. Enhance.
Doesn't enhance, but you can see the
dots, the holes,
the dots, and then the camera.
Okay, so if you go to the next camera in that carousel, or the next image in that carousel.
For audio listeners, we're looking at these photos.
Yeah, we're scrutinizing. We're doing all the detective work that's required.
Because someone has to.
Yeah. You could call us the Android police, but don't do that because
because we're not. Because we are not.
Is this one?
No, go to the next one. If there should be an arrow on that carousel. Okay, so now scroll down.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's much better. I see it.
Yeah, and if you scroll down,
you don't have to.
Yeah,
look at that.
That's a little bit more distinctive.
And you got that.
But
third
also,
camera.
what's in the
difference?
What's also in the reflection? This is like it looks like it's in a Star Wars spaceship.
It's like an RV or something.
Yeah, doesn't it?
Or a porta potty.
I see a power plug on the side of the wall.
It looks like it's like on the Rebellion blockade runner.
What's up at the top there? Like what's going on up there on the roof?
I don't know.
I know that person in the reflection looks like me, but it's not. I promise you, it's definitely not. Okay, can we cut away from that? That is not me in the reflection of that photo. Okay. Okay, let's never look at that again. And everybody don't look at these listings.
So what do you believe this, Jason, or do you think it's Photoshop foolery?
I believe it. Yeah, I will. I will give this a
So who do you think was the seller? Who was the seller? Was it like the manufacturer, or like who would be like?
Well,
how did they?
That's a good question.
Did this happen?
I mean, they say that it was a prototype that they got from a wholesaler. So then that begs the question, like, how does a wholesaler have these prototype devices from? Yeah, I guess so.
Right? So. Like, is the Pixel 7 an off-the-shelf Shenzhen special?
They didn't say that they were working.
True.
I mean, okay, they're working enough to take photos.
I was going to say they were working,
or at least the one that's taking the picture.
Yeah. Supposedly. I don't know. It's very weird. This kind of stuff happens every once in a while, but it's also strange that this is happening months ahead of time. Although not really that strange. Think back to, was it last year when the Pixel 6 was leaked far, in the summertime? We're at the beginning of the summertime now, so I guess it makes sense. I guess it's possible.
When was the Pixel 6 leaked? When was that?
Yeah, I want to say it was like June or July was my
I see one in September. Let's see, that's a September one.
Yeah, I feel like it was June or July.
Let's see, June 2021. Now let's watch us go to Google. I see a lot in September before it was announced. I don't see anything in the summer, though.
What's up with this little door? I don't know. What's this weird, like,
pop-up camera? Oh no!
I wish.
Is that's the SIM compartment?
No, it's way too big to be a SIM compartment.
Well, no, not necessarily. But
not
how do you eject
it? Takes up literally
the little dot, the little circle on the left.
No, that doesn't eject to the port on the right.
Oh yeah,
that's like a microphone. Microphone area.
Fascinating.
I don't know. Anyways, there we go. Maybe it's sealed up for this like prototype model. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I can't believe it.
But there we go. All right, so we both feel pretty confident that this was the real deal.
I feel like that's pretty confident. I'll give that a confident score of confident.
We actually probably could get a beat drop for this feature drop for the June 2022 feature drop for Pixel 4 and above. And just right off the bat, let's talk about this thing. Very unusually for a feature drop is the Pocket Operator for Pixel. So the Pocket Operator is actually an app that was done in collaboration with Teenage Engineering. Is it Teenage Engineering? I think I wrote that down wrong. Teenage Engineering.
Yeah, Teenage Engineering, you got it.
I'm not a musical person, not a musician, so I don't know if this is like a well-known company, but they're a Swedish consumer electronics company known for kind of wireless audio devices and synthesizers, sequencers, and samplers. And one of their products is actually a physical device called a Pocket Operator, which is basically a small, ultra-portable music device, which promises studio-quality sound and flexibility to make music on the go. Well, guess what? They've taken that, and they've made an app out of it with Google. And so that's if you were unfortunate enough to be on the live stream before the show started,
oh boy,
that is what you're hearing, the Pocket Operator. So it's basically an app that allows you to either import or record your own video. And with a little ML and other magic, it actually seems to like take the audio from the video and the video file itself and kind of try to break it up into mixable, sequenceable clips, throws in some like different tracks and other kind of effects. And yeah, you can make music just like the beautiful beats that, what was that?
I don't know.
Is that a puppet?
Whoa.
What?
This is a section of the app that I don't know that I had found.
It looks like a
before.
game.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, there is something called like a chaos pad, or it's like a MIDI control pad, and so it changes the XY coordinates depending on where this is. So you assign that to different effects, and it does different things. So I'm imagining that's what this is, but.
So yeah, for our audio listeners, Jason is holding the app, and on the upper portion of the app is a video, and the bottom portion of the app is previously in the pre-show when we were looking at it was the controls where you could tap on notes or instruments or stuff like that. Now it's a series of colors. Oh, look at that.
Oh, just figured out something new on
so
the
if you tap on the far left and right of it, it swipes between the controls. Okay. And so the first screen is a series of instruments, guitar, drum. Those are drums, right?
Yeah. That's like the drum pad, and then over here got.
And then those are the notes, and then there's a MIDI pad, a block of colors and things like that. This is fascinating.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very unusual Android app. It's very freeform. It's nothing like a typical Android app that actually, is for everyday kind of things. It's very freeform. It's really bright and colorful, which I think jives with the teenage engineering's like aesthetic. A lot of their devices are like hyper like colored and very kind of like, I don't know, teenage engineering kind of like encapsulates this kind of feeling of like very youthful and very fun and very like colorful, which I think, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So for people on the video stream, you can actually see this is the actual the tangible Pocket Operator. So they're really brightly colored, lots of different colors, and it's really meant to be like this like portable music creation. And it's kind of cool to see them bring it to Android. It's a very atypical app. I would not even know where to start with this. It is a little confusing, but I think it's really cool because it's trying to blend a lot of things that Google does. Like, I think there's definitely some machine learning in it because it's actually parsing the video file and creating, like, for example, Jason coughed and it created like modulated versions of it in like a do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do scale. I used it to similar effect. And yeah, and it allows you to basically mix and match. There's like multiple tracks and you can export this. And yeah, I mean, it's part of the feature drop in June for the June feature drop. It's more of like a
software emulation of their hardware device that they make.
Yeah, I think so.
To me, at least.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely is interesting. If you go to Keyword, which is the Google blog, they have this whole like flashy like feature drop video. So it kind of, I feel like it's blending in with trying to make Pixel fun and like, I don't know, well designed, kind of hip and like brightly colored and energetic.
Yeah,
so maybe
shareable.
This is why,
something that's shareable. You can export the video and the audio and share it online. And yeah, teenage engineering, I mean, in the audio realm has definitely has some credibility for being incredibly unique and creative with their tools and everything. And also, like that portability factor. So the idea of their hardware ending up on something that's already portable, your smartphone, actually makes a lot of sense. It is a little confusing, I will admit. And like, I'm a musician. I've played with a lot of different, pieces of software, audio software and everything like that. It's not impossible to learn something like this, but it's kind of interesting to me that this kind of an app was bundled in with the announcement of the Pixel feature drop, because this is not the kind of app that applies to everybody. This is a very niche product.
I have two thoughts about that. The first thought I have is, and we talked about this in the pre-show, like, I like they include this in the feature drop, right? Yeah. It's a weird, to your point, niche thing that only, like a subset of the population will get. People like us will play with it and be like, oh, that's weird and that sort of thing. But put weird stuff in. Show us what it can do. I mean, when you said it that it probably is using machine learning. It's Google. Of course it's using machine learning, right? And so it's showing off some fun aspect of it. And I think that's neat. If there's something like this in every feature drop, that's cool. But then secondarily, Jason, to your point, this is the kind of thing where like I feel like we go to an event and we see someone DJing with this app.
Yeah, right.
And
that's when you go, oh.
Yeah, they're doing their whole thing and they're just tapping their phone and they're doing it. And then like I go home and I try to do it and I cannot replicate it at all. And I respect that. That's really cool. It's like it reminds me when the tablets came out and there were, you had tablet DJs for the first time. And like I like music. I've attempted to DJ over the years and I downloaded the tablet DJ apps and tried to do it like I saw my friend do it. I'm like, oh, I can't do this. And so it shows that it's not the tool so much as the person using the tool,
Yeah.
And so I think that's pretty cool. So I like everything about this. So
No, you're right. It's very aspirational. Like, I mean, like a lot of the apps I've worked on are pretty, I wouldn't say boring, but very practical. Like I've worked on grocery store apps in my life and like, things like of this nature, which are helpful, but not aspirational. And yeah, maybe this is like a way to take kind of all the elements that Google's been working on from ML to design to other things and say, hey, like, this is where we can, this is what we can do with like, mobile processing and mobile experiences. It's not just like, other wonderful things that we'll talk about in a little bit that are a little more practical. But yeah, it is like aspirational and actually Jason found, I think you found like a pre-made one that sounds a lot more like someone had time and
well, yeah, the one that ships with it is like is the demo. And I mean it sounds like it's got like an actual like quality to it that isn't just total randomness.
Yeah.
But it's still I mean, this pad, I have no idea what it does. Like
here's the thing. What else is in the Pixel drop?
Yeah.
Are we talking about any of it?
Well,
no. That was a rhetorical question. I mean, like, of all the things in the Pixel drop, like, cool, shortcut for COVID vaccine cards stored on device, neat. Yeah. The lock screen shows a video feed, cool. Did you see this cool music sequencing app that this got us talking about the feature drop?
Yeah. All right. So before we get into this next clip, I just want to, remind you guys that I'm wearing a Santa hat. And there's actually a reason that I'm wearing the Santa hat, because if I wasn't, you'd see that I've got a mullet today.
Whoa, you got a mullet for Christmas?
Yeah. It's all the rage right now. No, I don't actually have a mullet under here, but I'm sure some of you remember.
Reminds me.
Yes.
It reminds me of something.
Does it remind you of Duo and Meet merging?
We often kind of go off the rails sometimes in talking about these things, don't we, Win?
We do. I think our next clip reminds me of why I actually really love being a host in the show, because we just say stuff and then stuff just comes out and it's magic.
We just
just not magic, but not quite like Duo, which merged with Meet this year.
Yeah, and became the party and business of video messaging apps. So let's take a look. Google's taken the chocolate, that's Duo, and the peanut butter, that's Meet, and putting them together. Google's doing the thing where it's like, we got these two things and we want them to be the same thing. And they're doing it with Duo and Meet. The combined platform will be called Google Meet.
What?
Which we already know what Google Meet is. As we know, Duo is kind of like the social video kind of platform, calling app, that sort of thing. Meet has been more for like professional groups and conference calling, that sort of stuff. Now it'll be consolidated, but it's still kind of confusing because Google Meet's features will be added to Duo, right? This is like first step. And then later in the year, the Duo app will be automatically updated and renamed to Google Meet with everything combined. So it's like you got your Meet over here and then all those features are going into Duo. When that happens, the old app, the app that is Google Meet now, will turn into something called Meet Original. And so then you're using Duo. Yeah, then you're using Duo with Meet features. And then at some point, they're going to phase out Meet Original, and Duo will get an update, and it'll turn into Google Meet again. So Google just loves to make these things just kind of a little confusing. I'm sure they have their reasons, but I feel like we've seen this a few times before.
Someone on Twitter, Adam J on Twitter, flagged someone else's post for me on Twitter, a guy by the name of Dare Obanzanjo, who said Google hasn't met a problem it couldn't solve by creating yet another messaging app.
It's true. Yeah. So I don't know. This kind of reminds me of the wallet, the Google Wallet, Google Pay, GPay, back and forth, ping pong match. Where it's like, okay, now it's over here, but it's got the name of the thing that it came from, but that only happened eventually. It also reminds me of the story that we're about to talk about after this. But do you think it's a good move to consolidate Meet and Duo? They do serve different purposes, but they kind of revolve around the same thing, the video streaming technology. So what do you think?
I kind of hate this, honestly. Like and for that reason, so I say that because I know at first with Duo, I think whenever it was announced at Google I/O, it was kind of like, oh, good, yet another video thing. But I think as I get older and crankier in my developer years, I kind of feel like things that have different demographics and different use cases are best served by being separate apps. Like everything all in the same pot, I feel like generally tends to water things down, jack of all trades, master of none kind of thing. And I think in certain situations it makes sense. Like I've actually kind of really gotten into Duo a lot, especially like now my sister had her first kid and we live far away. To use Duo to like talk to her and my little niece, and a lot of the features that are kind of really delightful about Duo, like the pre-call, like video, and just some of like the features which are more actually on the level like Snapchat. Like there's tons of filters and cute little things and messages you can send back and forth. They are very geared towards like one-on-one conversations, and kind of more in-depth. Silly often, but kind of in-depth conversation. And then I was actually on Google Meet for like 5 hours today, and I can't imagine the same app serving both these purposes, because Google Meet, it is good for certain things. Like it's good for large discussions. It's got like things like the hand raising gesture and like the separate chat. It's very much like a Zoom thing, and I don't know. I just don't like it. Like as a developer and as a user, when you try to cram everything into the same app, something is not going to work. There's just too many features. Like, how do you surface things that will work for your specific user and their specific use case? I mean, it can be done, but this doesn't feel like it. This feels like, hey, let's just have less things to like name. Let's have new Meet and Meet Classic, and then y'all figure it out later. And I don't really like it, but I'm also a little biased because I've really liked using Duo for the purposes that I think it was intended for. So
Meet is the business in front. Duo is the party in back.
Oh man!
Right?
Oh my God! Just call it Mullet,
Jason.
Meatlet. Mullet.
Meatlet.
That's like a butchery app. Never mind.
But,
oh gosh.
But in all seriousness, like that's kind of what you're describing, right? Like Duo.
Yeah, a little bit, I guess.
Duo has kind of like a playfulness to it, and has features that are really great for person to person. That's what it was designed to be. And then Meet is really designed for kind of like that business thing. And they are two very different things, even though they're at their core, it's still video calling. And that's kind of their point is, well, they're two video calling apps. Why can't they be the same thing? But I'll be really curious to see how they retain the playfulness of Duo while also retaining the seriousness of Meet in the same app environment without crossing the streams. Or maybe they cross the streams. I don't know. But how is that going to look? I'm not sure.
Can't cross the streams, Jason. You know that. You know.
I know. They say don't.
I don't have to tell you twice.
But some rules were meant to be broken, Ron. So, yes, the Google Mullet. That's what they should have called it. The Google Mullet.
Oh, I like that. That's not good. That's not good. Imagine what that app icon looks like for the Google Mullet.
Oh, right? I can imagine. I can see it right now. I like it. I like it in an ironic sort of way. There we go.
I don't really like it.
Yeah. Got to put that asterisk. Welcome to All About Android, episode 583, recorded on Tuesday, June 21st, the first day of summer 2022. Your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Jason Howell.
And I'm Ron Richards.
And I'm Huyen.
And today we have new artwork. I feel like we did this a couple of years ago.
We
do
did,
again.
but it's always fun. It's for those of you who are TWiT listeners / watchers, you probably know that there's a network wide update going on for the show artwork.
Right.
It's been I've been on bated breath waiting for Lisa's next social media post to with the latest show update, and I was delighted when I saw the new All About Android artwork. It's quite classy, I think.
Yeah.
For our video viewers, can we show it to them, Burke? Do we have it?
Yeah, we've got it in the little lower third down there.
That looks like
And
Jason.
then if you-
That looks like
Yes, this is
Jason.
me. I'm not the logo, but that's okay.
But it's got the little
How about
Android guy.
I'll make it disappear.
Okay, make it disappear. Oh, there it is. All right, so video viewers in the lower left-hand corner, you can see it blinking. But yeah, I love it. And so now if you listen to audio, if you refresh your podcast artwork, you can see it. It really it's the essence of All About Android, I think. I don't know.
I think that was important. I thought when we were kind of going through the process of selecting art and everything was, personality. The show has a lot of personality. There's also, I've always loved, and we talked
too
about
much personality.
maybe too
some
much
might
for our
say.
own good. Yeah, it's entirely possible. But I've always loved how the Android bug logo itself and the TWiT bug logo intersect. They really, in many ways, look very similar, and so I appreciate that the new artwork has the little TWiT bug with the there's our TWiT logo. That's beautiful. Burke's just having fun at this point, but it has the little ear. It has the little Android ear on it, so it's I don't know. I really like that about it. So there you go.
Nice.
That's what I think.
It's nice to refresh, to repaint the walls sometimes.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah,
I like
absolutely.
it.
And it's a different hue of green. Like I feel like the green that we had been using before was like a little bit brighter. And hey, why don't we break apart our logo changes and colors and talk like as if we're designers
For the next hour.
Yeah.
There should be some sort of, I want someone, challenge to the audience, the All About Android community. You're so talented and we love you. I want someone to go back to our original artwork.
Oh boy.
And do some sort of like animation evolution through the years to the artwork of today.
Morph.
I would,
I'm trying to think off the top of my head. We probably have, God, how many different versions of the artwork do we have? Like, I'm trying to think of what the initial artwork looked like before we started using the Androidify characters, which was kind of the second phase, I think. Was it that? No. All my Android drama?
Oh
I don't know that it was necessarily that, although thank you for playing that because I always enjoy seeing
what's
that.
so funny is that I don't even know how you could find our original cover art.
Yeah, I don't either.
Like the internet, like everything stays on the internet, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But like not podcast artwork. Like
It
you
gets
change
blown
it in
out.
the feed and it's gone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, so true.
Fascinating.
I don't know.
Fascinating.
It's a challenge, and maybe it exists somewhere deep in the recesses of Google Images search.
Yeah. Or like Wayback Machine or something.
Yeah.
Like that. Someone can do
Yeah.
it.
That might actually be.
Or our asset folders.
Or our ass. Yeah, probably.
But that's
really
no
the-
fun.
I know. I'm
That's
sorry.
no fun. Though.
Well, I'm the bubble burster. So.
What is it? twit.tv/AAA? We'll see how far back it goes.
Yeah, that's a good question.
This is,
this
is great content.
when we start the show, diving into our own history.
All right. So the
people are
earliest,
like,
the earliest
2011.
it does is April 2nd, 2011.
Okay.
All right. I have a screenshot here. Oh, wow.
I'm super curious.
Oh, no. It's the Androidify people.
It is
in
from the
2011.
beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah,
from the
I guess.
beginning. Yeah.
I guess it is. Here, I'm going to share
Here,
this
I'm
in
gonna-
Slack with
I was just about to do it too.
Okay. That's interesting.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know that I realized that it was Androidify from the beginning.
Well,
but
this
I guess
this is episode 1. Yeah, all about Android 1.
right.
What did
Yeah, and
they say?
I jumped to episode 3 for some reason, but still, yeah, that's so interesting. I didn't know
what I
that
liked.
they were the
What I
first
liked
characters.
about our original Androidified people is I have a parrot on my shoulder.
Yes, don't know why. Don't know why, but you do.
Jason, I'm pretty sure you have a ray gun.
Dude, that's
Or a
like your
sonic
trademark.
screwdriver.
Yeah, sonic screwdriver. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my ray gun. Pew pew. Yeah, there we go. Anyways, so that's the challenge for anyone who is design inclined or animation inclined. Seek out on the Internet Archive all the different variations of our podcast art and do some sort of slowly morphing transition between them to get to where we are right now. That sounds really complicated.
And
I don't know
needs
how
to
you
be
would
ready
do that.
in a week. Or,
It needs to be ready by next
or
week.
actually
Tomorrow.
2 days. Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyways, we hope that you like the artwork, and don't be afraid of it. When you refresh your podcatcher and suddenly it's there, it's not like a different show. It's the same show. You just have a different look.
Yeah.
So there you go. Now we've also got HTC, which we've talked about on the show in previous episodes. The rumors bubbling that their next phone was going to be a premium smartphone, and it was going to be tied to the metaverse somehow.
I can't believe y'all are talking about HTC. I'm just gonna that.
Hey, look, there was a time that HTC reigned supreme.
I know. There was a time I was.
It's hard to like write them off entirely, but now they were releasing the HTC Desire 22 Pro, and its big bet, like I said, is leaning into the metaverse. Doesn't end up being a premium smartphone after all. It's listed at £399 sterling with an August 1st release. They say it's a, quote, perfect companion to HTC's Vive Flow VR headset. And yes, NFTs are here too. It's going to include a digital wallet to manage crypto and comes with a free NFT. So you get a free NFT, free digital asset. Okay. Specs are, I would say mid-range if I had to put it in a category. But
I want Samsung to give me a free NFT.
yeah, well,
You guys know Samsung has NFTs, right?
I guess I didn't know that. What do you mean?
Yeah,
Like
so
they're
they have
selling
NFTs, and if you buy one, it gets you special access to I'm assuming actually, but I think I saw a screenshot of this. It gets you special access to buy things.
Oh, okay.
So it's for real. It's for big fans.
Samsung NFT.
Yep.
And are you talking about the NFT platform for your Samsung TV? I did hear about that.
I'm talking about the Samsung NFT. There's a Discord and everything.
Oh, okay. Because I do remember them talking about offering NFTs.
Here, I'll
through
send
their
you a
smart TVs.
Digiday. I'll send you a Digiday from the industry link in the Slack.
Because I have to get in on this sweet NFT action from Samsung, really, personally.
They came out during NFT NYC last week, which I'm sure Ron ran into a couple times.
Sadly, I did. So.
They have nearly 200,000 members in their Discord.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, for their NFTs. So
okay, then. All right, so they're all doing the NFT thing.
yeah,
Yep.
and you're right. Actually, the Samsung TVs are NFT displaying platforms, which I don't know. It's
Forgot about
it's an interesting time. For three.
Yeah, still not quite sure I totally understand the time, but nonetheless, there we are. Also, a reminder that HTC had its own blockchain phone, if you remember. They were there first in 2018 with the Exodus 1.
Exodus. Wow. What a book of the Bible to go after.
Yeah. and no one remembers that phone other than
does.
footnotes like this. So there we go.
It's a footnote now. That's the
The HTC Footnote.
frustrating.
Oh.
HTC Footnote.
Oof.
Oh, that's very funny. There's a show title if you ever had it.
There you go. That's a good, for sure. It's great to.
Oh boy. All right. We'll stop bagging on phones we don't understand. Flo, you got to watch that.
Oh, we
sort of
understand it. Just to be clear, Jason, I understand it. I just reject it. I don't even reject it. I don't. It's not for me. I'll say that. It's for somebody, but it is not for me. So
Truth has never been spoken more.
You know what's insane though is like that little screen protector. So there's like this I thought that when I first got this phone, I was like, oh, that's kind of funny. I left the plastic on. I did actually leave the plastic on. So actually, by the way, that's the front. Do y'all have that?
You just
Wow.
I didn't know what just happened there. I honestly, I thought that was the inside. I was like, no.
Chaos.
But okay, so that was
That freaked me out.
it's like F this phone.
Razor warranty.
I was like, she just mic dropped. Like, seriously, hardcore. That's crazy.
That was great. That was awesome.
So that was the front. Okay, that was the plastic that came on the front.
Jeez.
And then there's a similar piece of plastic on the inside, which is what Victor's talking about. And like when I first got this phone, I tried to peel it off. Like probably a lot of other people.
Oh, yeah,
Another huge
you
fail.
do not
Never
peel that off.
Like, how about just a little sticker that tells you, "Don't tear me off.
Don't
tear
peel-
me off.
Yeah.
Whatever. It's fine."
It might have come with it, but
Yeah.
it was very confusing because then the front peels off.
Yeah,
so actually,
just don't
I think
make
what
it
happened, I left
confusing.
that
That's
on.
all I have to do.
Well, that's why I left this on for the last 8 months because I was like, well, if the inside doesn't come off, then maybe the outside doesn't come off. So, but yeah, no, sorry. I just freaked everybody out.
I wasn't prepared for it. You did that for a very split second. I thought that was the inside display. I was panicking for you. It's like, no. Although it would make great TV.
It would be. He's total clickbait. That'd be a great thumbnail, Victor, for
Yes,
Victor for the week. It's just
totally.
me just destroying my full plate on camera.
We're doing that.
Yeah, indeed. Oof. Okay. Do y'all remember Hangouts on Air? I thought Hangouts on Air was cool.
Weren't we just talking about this a couple of weeks ago? Because that's mainly what I used for my live streaming for iFanboy back in the day. Like that was what we did.
right.
It Hangouts on Air connected directly to YouTube, and you could just connect on Hangouts on Air and stream to your YouTube channel.
Yep.
So-
Yep. So what was old is new again, and it's pretty much it's back. It's coming back to Google Meet. Apparently, Meet has already supported live streaming for internal domains for businesses that want to host large meetings. So this functionality kind of has already existed, but now this ability is coming also to personal Gmail accounts and Google accounts, meaning users can live stream to YouTube. And yeah, which is basically, I mean, at the end of the day, it's basically Hangouts on Air. So it allows you to have a meeting with a group of people and then live stream that out to a YouTube player for people on YouTube to tune into while you're recording your podcast or conducting your meeting or whatever. And so that's coming back, courtesy of Google Meet.
It's enough to make a grown man go crazy or woman go crazy with this, all this back and forth and all this. It doesn't seem like it's actually. I mean, and call me crazy and call me like paranoid, but I feel like someone at Google's messing with us, you know, like it's just like
it seems to be indicative of the siloed nature of Google that, you know, at one hand, there is a team working on this product that makes the decision this thing's got to go. And then that just becomes this like divorced feature out, you know, drifting out in space. And then somebody else goes into this other team and says, you know, what'd be really cool is if our thing did that. And it's like, oh yeah, we should do that. And I don't know if maybe they like operate not realizing that like they had it over here, or they go, oh yeah, we've got that thing. Let's bring that over and make it easier, whatever. But it is funny. It just happens time and time again. Just keeps going. It's a tale as old as time with Google.
I want to make a super nerdy joke about how Google actually has re-rolled as a necromancer or something, and that they're just kind of using the, now we're getting kind of dark, like the old bodies of its former something minions and raise them up, and now it's like an army of like, I don't know. I'm sorry, I'm not that good at D&D.
They're reanimating their old ideas.
That's a really great movie, by the way.
Yeah.
Frightening, but good. So there you go. They're reanimating. So I don't know. Sorry, Mel. My buddy Mel is like my D&D expert. Sorry, Mel. I tried. I could not make the D&D thing work. So my bad.
I like it. Anytime we can get Reanimator on this show, I'm fully for it. Earthquake.
Earthquake.
Drop, cover, hold on, protect yourself. I'm getting the alert.
Oh, wow. Is this the first time we had an earthquake live on the show?
Earthquake detected. Drop, cover, hold on. Protect yourself.
Do I drop, cover, and hold on?
I don't know.
What do I do? Yeah, that was a little bit of a shake there.
I didn't feel it at all.
Wow.
Did you?
Oh yeah, I definitely felt
Well,
that.
I'm on a platform. Sorry.
Yeah. Ooh.
Okay. Wow.
Ooh, my heart's moving a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I think so. Yeah. It was moved.
Wait, nothing
yeah,
is even
we're
rocking
feeling it
at
again.
all.
We're feeling it again.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Look
Yeah.
at the monitor.
Yeah.
yeah. We can kind of see it on the Zoom. A little
Can
bit
you?
of shake.
That
Not much.
A little bit.
Oh, yeah. It's just like a real gentle.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Who the heck knows? That's weird. I'm still hearing the clicking, by the way.
Is the clicking? Wait, was the clicking an early indicator
For
of
the
the
last
go.
hour and a half.
Yeah.
Early warning. Very early warning.
Okay. I don't know what to do now. I'm like, should I be under the table right now?
Well, let's chill for a second.
Yeah.
Actually, you probably want to come towards me if there's an earthquake. You're literally
geez.
like,
Yeah.
that's literally like the heaviest part of the truss. Is where I can't show you. But
Yeah. Okay.
I mean-
Estimated magnitude 4.9, 15 and a half miles away.
it's like a baby.
Wow. So, do you,
But still, the
do you
point
have an
being.
do you have an overhead shot?
Oh, yeah, hold on. I
Seriously,
do.
this
I
is-
do. I do. Got it right here.
This is like the.
Oh, wait. No, not that one. Here.
There we go. So, earthquake,
Wow.
expect shaking.
This is the
Estimated.
first.
Yeah, estimated magnitude 4.9, about 15 and a half miles away. Yeah, there you go.
I mean, they don't know how. They probably don't know the magnitude, so they're just like, "Look,
Well,
it's coming."
that's interesting. I wonder how they. I mean, because they're putting something there. They're getting
crowdsourced,
that
I think.
information somehow.
It's crowdsourced. I think. I thought.
I mean, I'm sure that. I think the detection is crowdsourced to like pick up the sensors from the different phones. But there's got to be, they're tapping into some information, like the official information as well to pull back some of that.
There's got to be some sort of earthquake center that with an API or something.
Right.
That's
That's kind of what I meant, but I was doing a horrible job.
We
of
actually
explaining
did we
Wasn't
covered
that
an
horrible,
article on
just-
it, but it was a long time ago, and I don't think we've had it. This is the first time I think they've used it. To be honest.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, that's the first time that I've experienced that. I didn't get the whole. Wasn't my phone supposed to do the thing where it like pulls up, like does a full screen and it's like get under the table, do really loud. I feel like we've shown this off before. It was a pixel
It's
feature.
a really underwhelming graphic, that's for sure.
Yeah, well, it was like the standard notification when an
Super
earthquake happens.
generic,
That, kind of the same thing that you get for like an Amber Alert is what we got. But
Oh. There you go.
4.5. Yeah, that's what my phone was saying too.
Yeah.
4.9 is what mine was saying. Okay, well, that happened. It's interesting. Do we just continue? I don't even know where.
So I'm so glad we finally answered the question: how many years of podcasting do you need to do before you have an earthquake happen on the show? And the answer is it's 11. After 11 years of doing the show weekly, experiencing that earthquake live was something I don't think any of us will ever forget.
No, totally. It was very unexpected, I have to say. I mean, not that you ever expect an earthquake to suddenly happen, but just the fact that it happened during the recording time. And I legitimately had no idea what to do, even though, like, the phones are supposed to tell you exactly what to do. I was like, well, where do I go?
Yep.
Do I go under here?
What do we do?
Like, I just don't even know where to go. I'm just going to be on this show confused. So anyways,
It's too funny.
That's all it takes.
Just a great example of how the fun, you never know.
The
That's why you gotta tune in
unpredictability.
live or listen every week to All About Android because anything could happen. So-
Anything could happen on this show, and it usually does. It's one of the things that I love about doing this show, and it's one of the things that I love about doing this show with amazing people. Just a huge thank you to everyone who does this show, who helps us do this show year after year. Ron, Huyen, you're both awesome. I love podcasting with you both. And I see it as I see it as a privilege that I get to sit in this chair week after week, year after year, and talk about something that I care about with friends that I care about. So thank you for allowing me to do that.
Likewise, yeah, no, and 11 years of doing it, and then every year gets better. We added Huyen to the table, and
Yes, indeed.
and Mashal and Flo and everybody that's joined us, all the great guests, and I gotta say, I say it and completely with sincerity. I say it every year, but like with no BS.
This is the highlight of my week. I look forward to Tuesday nights for me, Tuesday afternoons for everybody. I hope everybody continues to listen and enjoy it and recommend to their friends. The community's awesome. Everybody's so active on Twitter and other social networks and things like that. It's just great. I just love I love the show. I love what comes with it. So when it's been a year, you going to stick around?
Yeah, I mean, this is amazing.
I think so. Yeah,
I think so. That's the thing, though. Like, I love this show, and I've already told the story like 1.5 billion times that, I think I've always loved Android because we still have that kind of scrappy underdog feel, even though we're the number one mobile operating system, and it still feels scrappy. It still feels underdog. It still feels like we're always fighting for legitimacy. I mean, that's not always the case anymore since, Google is Google and Android is Android. But I've always loved this show.
Yeah.
But it does, doesn't it? Yeah. Like, we're always having to prove ourselves, even, even in 2022, the year of our smartphone 2022. And I've legitimately always appreciated the existence of the show for validating my career choices. And I think I wish more of the Android dev fam could see how much people do love Android. Like, that it's not just like us devs out there just working on on top of the scrappy OS and trying to make apps that people like, but that people genuinely care and genuinely love this platform, and that people are still enthusiasts even after 11, 10 years. So this has been a really amazing experience, and really it's like completing the circle of Android life for me, where I get to be both a dev behind the scenes and also part of the consumer of the Android faithful.
Yes.
Speaking out, sometimes complaining, because complaining is good for you.
Sometimes that leads to a good spot. Yeah.
Well, but the thing is, with Android, is that eventually Google will listen to complaints and do something about it. Generally speaking,
yeah.
Some things not. We've had many stories that are less like that, but I just think in general, it's such a great place to be, and I'm so happy to be here to find yet another excuse in my day to talk about Android with y'all.
There you go. There you go. Well, I appreciate you both. Florence Ion, loved having her on this year. Michelle Ramon, Esper.io, amazing inclusion on a monthly basis. J.R. Raphael, Android Intelligence, he's been bringing some amazing tips and on a weekly basis that I think a lot of people that were missing the arena are kind of getting a little bit of that itch scratched with some of those tips. All of our amazing roster of guests that we have time after time, year after year, week after week. We just have some awesome people that come on this show and are willing to give us their time. And so huge thanks to them. Thank you to Burke for always being here and giving us his news bumper and pushing the buttons and setting up the cameras and just, dealing with the TriCaster reboots when they have to happen and everything behind the scenes. Thank you to Victor, who edits these shows week after week, publishes them, make sure that you can actually get them and listen to them. And finally, thanks to you, the Android faithful out there, for without you, we would not have the ability and, like I said earlier, the privilege to do this fun show week after week. It's just an amazing opportunity for us to be able to talk about something we care about so deeply with other people, as if, we're all friends here talking about something we care about. So there we go.
Yep. Very lucky.
Yeah, we really are. It's a pretty awesome privilege that we have to do this. So thank you. But it's no longer Christmas, so I can't wish you a Merry Christmas, but I can wish you an almost Happy New Year. We've got tons of best of episodes for all of our shows running throughout the week. So, check out your favorite show. Thank you for starting with Android, all about Android. We appreciate that. We'll continue doing this show into the new year. Look for us next Tuesday to pick things up, twit.tv/AAA. And I really think that's about it. We've reached the end of this episode. So Huyen, Ron, from Jason, thank you so much for watching and listening. And we'll see you next year on All About Android.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Bye, everybody. I'm Jason Howell. What do you get your favorite geek who already has everything? Well, I know just the thing. It's a Club TWiT gift subscription, of course. TWiT podcasts keep them informed and entertained with the most relevant tech news and podcasts available. And with a Club TWiT subscription, they get even more. They get access to all of our podcasts ad-free, the members-only Discord, exclusive outtakes, behind the scenes and special content, and exclusive shows like Hands on Mac, Hands on Windows, and the Untitled Linux Show. You can purchase your geek's gift at twit.tv/clubtwit, and they're going to thank you every day for it.